write today the entry for September the 1st, entitled A Strong Soul is Better Than Good Luck. The rational soul is stronger than any kind of fortune. From its own share, it guides its affairs here or there, and is itself the cause of a happy or miserable life. Seneca, Moral Letters 98.2b. And the writing is Cato. Cato the Younger had enough money to dress in fine clothing, yet he often walked around Rome barefoot, indifferent to assumptions people made about him as he passed. He could have indulged in the finest food. He chose instead to eat simple fare. Whether it was raining or intensely hot, he went barefoot by choice. Why not indulge in some easy relief? Because Cato was training his soul to be strong and resilient. Specifically, he was learning indifference. Specifically, he was learning indifference, an attitude of let come what may, that would serve him well in the trenches and within the army, in the forum and the Senate, in his life as a father and statesman. His training prepared him for any conditions, any kind of luck. If we undergo our own training and preparations, we might find ourselves similarly strengthened. Okay, so we find out here that despite what happens to us, we should try to stay strong and have fortitude in the face of adversity, in the face of good, in the face of bad. This is, again, a recurring theme in Stoicism, to be stable and even keeled regardless of the external circumstances that are occurring in your life. This is one of the most fundamental teachings, I would say, in Stoicism, as well as I'm sure other teachings as well, and is one of the most difficult things to master, I believe. If we ask ourselves how much of our reactions, how much of our internal emotions are a result of what is happening externally to us, I think it's quite safe to say that, it's a huge part of it, whether it's us becoming upset because of something somebody said, somebody did, if it's because we're in a situation that we don't, wish to be in, perhaps, with affairs of the heart or in any certain life circumstance. This is something that happens extremely commonly, and we're human. We're living within the circumstances of our lives. So of course, if something negative is happening that is potentially throwing off our equilibrium or making us feel a certain type of way, we're not going to feel good. So I think this is a very, very difficult one to master. The ability to stay stable and even keeled in the face of adversity, regardless of good or bad. I think it's quite easy to externally appear that you're unaffected, which is, I think it is step one, right? To be able to regulate one's emotions in the face of other people. But I think what is even more difficult and even more important, what I think is even more difficult and even arguably more important, is the ability to, within ourselves, stay true to this and truly not be affected by good or bad fortune, or have the ability to, stay in a consistent mindset, emotionally, physically, mentally, regardless of what the external factors are. I think the other thing that was touched upon on there was that this fellow Cato would run around Rome walking barefoot, indifferent to assumptions that people made about him as he passed. I think this is another, not entirely related, but also important consideration for us to have, is that we should not be too consumed by what people think of us, right? We know who we are, we know what we stand for, what we believe in, and the assumptions that people have of us, are irrelevant in some ways. Of course, the other side of that is that the way that you present yourself does affect the way that people perceive you. And if you want to be perceived in a specific way, then of course you should present yourself in a specific way. Or if you don't want to be perceived in a specific way, but you're presenting yourself in a way that does send that message, that's something to consider as well. But to a point, of course, right? And I think the most important thing, or a very important thing, is to have alignment, to perceive yourself and truly be the person that you are, and present yourself in that way, but not to present somebody that you're not. And this also reminds me of another quote that is attributed to Socrates, which is what has always been one of my favorite quotes. And it's "Be as you wish to seem." And I think that's a very powerful quote. And you know, so many people, they want to seem a specific way, but so many times people are not the way that they seem, or the way that they present themselves to be. And I think this is like a very simple but powerful reminder that instead of trying to be. But yeah, that's a bit of a tangent. Let's get back to it. Again, a strong soul is better than good luck. The rational soul is stronger than any kind of fortune. From its own share, it guides its affairs here or there, and is itself the cause of a happy or miserable life.